Steps to Freedom, Jesse.
Yeah.
We haven't seen him since November. How's he been since his run?
Well, I've been delighted with him. He came back from Cheltenham and he had a break. He didn't come back into the stables until the 1st of January. And he's been super ever since. I've been very happy with him.
And was it always the plan to give him that type of a break?
Yes, always, because he'd run in Aintree and then he'd had a little bit of break after that, and he came to me the middle end of May, and he then ran on the flat all through June, July, August, September, and then went over hurdles and won his 3 hurdle races. So really he was due a break, and that was always the plan.
And I know he won at Aintree last April, but did it surprise you how well he took to hurdling and how good he became very quickly over hurdles?
Yeah, he always was a very good jumper, and he'd done a massive schooling, and he'd been, before he came to me, he'd been up in Con and Mag's Pars, being schooled over her in the loose school over poles and everything. So he had his technique was very good, and it was just a question of getting him quick.
And then in terms of when you brought him to Cheltenham for the November meeting, he'd already, as you say, he'd already been very busy up until that point. So were you thinking then of maybe leaving him off?
We won in Fairyhouse, and then he won in Punchestown, beating second season novices, and we very nearly didn't run him that day because the ground was soft, and I said, oh well, he's got to go and do it on soft ground sometime, because he's not a soft ground horse. And then after that we sort of thought, well, we'd like to go to Cheltenham, but we'll see what the ground's going to be like. And we were sort of half thinking we might keep him in for the Royal Bond at Fairyhouse, but I was saying, no, I need to get him out by then. And so that was really how it worked out. He seemed to be well enough to go to Cheltenham, so we sent him there, and he won, and I was delighted with him that day, because it was a slowly run race, and he quickened up well, and what I liked about him, he battled up the hill.
Yeah, and Robbie said afterwards that when he went from it just took him a little bit longer than he thought it would for him to pick up, and that said to him that he probably needed his break then after that. Is that right? Yeah,
that's really, well, we were always going to give it to him, but we knew he needed it.
Yeah. And the time before that, he made a really bad mistake at the second last flight. I think it was at Punchestown, and it was the one before that. He still was able to pick up.
And he picked him up very easily. Experienced horses. Sailor's Warn was 3 lengths behind him that day, and you see where he finished in what I call the Tote Gold Trophy, or whatever. It's the Betfred hurdle at Newbury. He's got a good. His form is, I think, fairly solid.
And the race at Cheltenham probably isn't working out as well as it might have, but there have been excuses for the beaten horses since that they were subsequently beating. But on the day, it looked like he wasn't going to get there, and he just when he got to the bottom of the hill, he really stayed on up it. Yeah,
which is great, and he'll come up the hill, and he coped with the ups and downs, because when we ran him in the listed race in Galway, he didn't come down the hill in Galway great, but I suppose he learnt from that, and it's all experience and learning curve.
And then you were thinking of giving him a run on the flat at Dundalk between then and now, is that right? Yeah,
I was, and there was a race there for him, but I entered him in it, and then I basically got a bit of cold feet, because sometimes the ground at Dundalk can get a bit quick this time of year if I don't know whether you've got a cold night or a wet night, I can't remember which it is, but and I just lost my nerve a bit, and I said, well, I'd be awfully stupid to run him there and wreck him there. We might as well go to Cheltenham straight.
And have you been happy enough with him since then in the preparation?
I'm delighted with him. He's done 2 really good bits of work. He schooled over 12 hurdles at the Curragh on Tuesday, and he goes to work on the grass at Leopardstown on Monday.
And of course, you proved with Cork All-Star that you can have a break from November to Cheltenham and go and win.
Well, yeah, I've done it before, so let's hope I can do the repeat dose this time.
Yeah, are there any in there that you're particularly fearful of?
Yeah, you'd have to be. There's very good word for Nicky's 2 horses, Darrellan and the one beginning with T. And just look, there's and there's an awful lot of Galileo's Choice is there, class horse on the flat, probably a better flat horse than Steps, and you've got a lot of very good horses in it, and they'll all be going there with a good chance. But the fact that he's won round there, I think, is in his favour.
And ground-wise, probably the first race on the first day, if we don't have rain between now and then, it's probably going to be easy enough ground without being lightning quick.
Yeah, but I think he seems to be coping well with the slightly softer ground, because really all his hurdle wins have been on it would actually be nearly soft, flat ground, and he's coped with it very well. Even the day that he won in Cheltenham in November, the ground was pretty tacky that day.
Okay, so you go there with a
Well,
lot of hope.
Hope.
Yeah.
Hope. Lots of hope.